We are currently living in a world of complete uncertainty. The future for our generation seems full of questions, but many are without answers. As mass national change looms with the finalisation of Brexit, now we are also faced with the recovery from coronavirus. And inevitably, huge economic, social and cultural change is pending. As many vast decisions get made by a select few, the majority of our generation's voices remain collectively unheard when it comes to issues which define our country. Issues such as race, immigration and religion, gender equality, sexuality and self-expression, politics, the environment and post-truth in the media, mental health, the NHS and social care, housing, benefits and jobs, crime, drugs and the police, social media, the media, and art. So this is our platform to talk about our past, our present and our future. This is our voice.
My name is Tilly, I am 20 years old. I originally grew up in Lincolnshire, but I currently live in Brighton where I study music journalism at BIM. So my hometown is quite small. I think there's like give or take like 30,000 people who live here, compared to Brighton, which is around 300,000, I think. I don't hear of that many internal cases in my hometown, but I think that's just due to the fact that there isn't actually much that happens here. You know, it's such a quiet small town, and when things do happen, it's quite big. So, for example, there'll be a murder, and you know the newspapers will hop on it. You know, media coverage is crazy. Everyone hears about it, and because it's quite a small town. As I said, it's quite tight knit. News travels fast, you know, people find out about stuff pretty quickly. So yeah, there'll be something big like a murder happen, and then it will go quiet for a year. Literally nothing will happen. Then there'll be a murder suicide, and it, you know, same thing again. Everyone hops on it, and it's a big thing. Quiet for a year, then there's a stabbing, and you know you see the pattern. But yeah, so there's not as many in my small town, but when internal cases do happen, yeah, we do hear about them. It's literally everywhere. Yeah, when I first moved to Brighton in 2018, I was shocked because I was used to this kind of way of living, you know, like such small, close place. I was shocked at how many internal cases there were, how like frequent, you know, you'd hear about internal cases like every other day there was like an assault or yeah, just I don't know, it was crazy, and it was really benign to me how much like casual crime there was. But I don't know, I guess that's just part of like city life. It's just become embedded in me. Crime has become embedded in me, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's part of living in a city, I think, which did, you know, surprise me when I first moved there. But I think coverage of internal cases anywhere is really important. I think it's such an important thing about living anywhere, you know, to be aware and knowledgeable of what's going on around you. Yeah, I do think that is really important. Like, I think the last case that I heard of in Brighton was a rape that happened in a graveyard, and that graveyard was literally less than a minute walk from my house. Obviously, like, that news was scary. However, I am so glad that I found that out because, you know, it meant I could like take extra precautions, not walk alone at night, you know, get someone to meet me at the bus stop, don't walk with headphones in, that kind of stuff, which is sad. But again, I'm glad that I found that out because it's good to be aware and knowledgeable and a little bit scared than just oblivious to what's going on around you. You know, I think it's a really positive thing to be kept in the loop. In your area. I think it's a really positive thing. if you'd have asked me the same question a couple of years ago, I would have said, yes, I feel safe in Britain. But now I've grown up a little bit and I've had a few more life experiences, I'd say, no, I don't feel too safe in Britain. And yeah, I do think it's just a case of the more I know, you know, I've grown up, like, when I first moved to Brighton, you know, I was very young and naive and all that cliche stuff. I felt safe for a little bit until, you know, things started happening, like there are cases when I get followed home, or like somebody that I know got robbed at knife point, you know, friends of friends get assaulted, and it's horrible. And the more you experience like that, the more scared you get, you know, you just live in like a constant fear. I mean, there might be an underlying fear, but it's kind of always there. It's not like I'm going around like, oh my god, the world's gonna end, oh my god, I'm gonna die, oh, all that stuff. It's not like that. It's more like I'm cautious in things that I do. And yeah, I do think that changes, like, depending on where I am in the country. I feel safe in certain areas of Brighton. Like I said, the pub graveyard situation, I don't feel safe around there anymore. But yeah, it really depends. It really depends on where I am, who I'm with. I feel scared a lot more of the time when I'm on my own. And in regards to why I think people feel the need to carry knives and guns, I think it comes down to protection. Like, I don't personally know anyone who carries knives or guns. I've met someone who carries a knife. He was like a drug dealer. He was from London and he was in Brighton for the weekend selling and stuff. And we got talking about it, and he was telling me about the stuff he'd been through. And it's the same old story of like gangs and violence. And, you know, he told me he got stabbed and that's why he carried this knife around. It was literally for protection. I feel like you probably find that. I mean, I don't want to throw imaginary statistics around, but you probably find out like 89% of people who carry weapons is probably for protection all the time. You know, that's probably down to them just not feeling safe. A lot of the time I feel like people are involuntarily put into positions like that. They just grow up in certain areas, they get involved with certain people, and it's against their will, they can't help it. And that's the only way that they can protect themselves, because it's a dangerous world with some dangerous ass people. How can that be reduced? I don't know. I guess outlets, education, resources, I think, for vulnerable young people. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I know there are places like that exist, you know, YMCA and such, but I don't know too much about it to comment on it. But I do think that young people do need extra support. I think, yeah, people who are seen as vulnerable people living in vulnerable situations, definitely. I have partaken both in drinking alcohol and recreational drug use over the years. I think that young people are drinking less for a couple of reasons. One, which I think every young person ever would agree with me, is the cost. You know, drinking is it's like an epicenter of like young people's lives. You know, the pub is like HQ for like everything that you do. So many social situations and events revolves around drinking, and that can get really expensive if you're young and or a student, you know. So yeah, it does take a toll on your bank account. And I guess as well, people find that alcohol can get quite boring. You know, it can get quite like same old. Therefore people, you know, will seek more extreme pleasures in the form of like narcotics, Class A's and such. Yeah. And it's just so appealing for some people, and you know, there's more to experiment with, you know, different feelings, and a lot of the time it's just cheaper. A lot of drugs are just cheaper. And yeah, the thing is, people are always going to want to take drugs. I feel like that is, look around you and think about people you know. I mean, so I'm talking about people that I know, in my opinion. If I look around, you know, in my life and people that I know, you know, they're all always going to want to take drugs. You know, I think that's just a collective thing about our generation, you know, that constant, you know, you just want that little bit of euphoria, you know. You know, we're young and wild and free and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like this demand for it means that it's always going to be around. Like, drugs are always going to be around, you know, whether the authorities like it or not. And yeah, I do think that the laws that surround drugs are too restricted. I don't think they should be focusing on stamping drugs out. I think they should be focusing on making them safer. A lot of drug-related deaths are teenagers go to dealers picking up what they think is one thing, but they don't realise it's another thing, and ultimately it kills them. You know, that's so common, it's such a common thing. Accidental overdoses, that's such a massive thing. Things like drug testing kits, just education, information about safe dosages. I think a lot of deaths could be avoided if there was basic education, but the authorities and schools just stamp it out, you know. They're very, very anti-drugs. And, you know, by that I'm not necessarily saying that I'm pro-drugs, but I am all for people choosing to do whatever they want with their lives, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. People should be entitled to do that safely, and they should be educated, and they should be told, you know, this is how much of this or how much of this, and how much kills you, and like what to be aware of. And I do think that education is the key to making it better, because yeah, like I said, drugs are always going to be there, whether the authorities like it or not. Yeah, and I think when it comes to cannabis, I do not understand why cannabis is illegal. It's a plant. I don't fucking get it. I do not understand. The positive and medicinal benefits, I mean, what are the negative benefits from it? It's just such a neutral thing. Like, it has so many positive things. Like, I mean, yes, some people just smoke, you know, because it makes them feel good, you know, whatever. But putting that aside, if you think about it medicinally, like, I used to vape CBD, and I know it's not got the THC in it, so it doesn't make you high. But man, that helped my anxiety so much. And I know like that is legal because it doesn't have the THC in it. But I also know someone who was in quite a serious car accident a couple of years ago, and they were on like loads of pain meds, and it just wasn't sufficing, and they started, you know, smoking weed daily because they get chronic pain as well, and it works 10 times better than any like prescription drug. And yeah, I know someone who uses it for insomnia as well. It's got so many benefits, and I just don't understand. Man, the world ceases to amaze me sometimes. I don't understand. If alcohol is legal, I mean, alcohol kills like so many more people. And I mean, I don't think there are any recorded cannabis deaths. And there are thousands, probably millions per year of like alcohol deaths. Yeah, that's legal. You can nip down the road, pop in to the pub for a pint. I think you should be able to do the same for weed. I really do. And I think it's just all there in the statistics.
I'm Dan Wignall, I'm 25 years old and I grew up in Wiltshire and I'm still living in Wiltshire. I'm currently self-employed, but that's basically unemployed at this point. I'd say they're probably the most popular just because they're probably the most socially acceptable drugs in society, and are most commonly associated really with kind of party scene and culture. So really it's going to be popular among kind of like under 30s, I'd say. Do you think the drug culture is worse in this generation compared to our parents? Yeah, I definitely say it's easier to get drugs. But also at the same time, it's easier to get information about drugs and to make kind of more informed opinions about it. So I guess there's going to be like less kind of anti-drug propaganda and stuff like that. And do you think it's different in other countries? I'd say like if in Western countries, it would probably be fairly similar, like mainly party drugs like weed, uppers, cocaine and stuff like that. But then obviously if you went to like Dubai or something, it's probably a lot different. I know a lot of the time the police don't really come down that hard on kind of keeping people split up, or there isn't that much of a deterrent to not keep contacting that partner. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know too much about this, but I think they do need to protect the victim a bit better. I'd say that the lack of police presence does definitely make it more enticing maybe to criminals to kind of commit crimes like these, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, a growing population, less police on the streets, you kind of would expect more crime, I guess. And yeah, I definitely think that the police are completely out of their depth with fraud and stuff like that. Like, it's so sophisticated, the technology is just so easy to hide behind that, yeah, it's just, yeah, they won't be able to catch up with that.
Hi, I'm Olivia Russell, I'm 23 years old. I'm from Hertfordshire and now I'm living in Yorkshire and I'm an undergraduate student. I can only speak from my own experience on whether the police are severe enough, but I read last year somewhere that only 1.7% of rape cases were prosecuted in the UK, and that's a really low percentage and quite scary, as I have met many women and men as well in my life that have experienced assault in different ways, and either have gone to the police or haven't, and the ones that have quite a few times have not been given the justice that I think they should have, and they haven't been followed on by the police. And to think that only 1.7% last year in 2019 got prosecuted just means that there are so many perpetrators out there still, possibly, and women who have been abused that aren't getting their justice, and I just don't think that's really fair. Well, from my experience, I have been through a court case, and at the start of that there was one police officer who was really attentive. He would call me up almost every week and update me on things and would make me feel like I was part of this thing that I am in. Whereas the last 2 years it's been really cold. It's just been letters or phone calls from random officers who I don't know, as the other one retired, and that's when I could see like what some of my friends mean when they really might not trust the police or might not like them, because I think if people give you the respect of communicating with you and letting you know what's happening in your own case or whatever, I think then trust can be gained through that. And I've had friends who have had really bad experiences with the police. I can see where my friends are coming from in terms of them maybe not being communicated with enough, or their cases not being followed through because of certain things or certain situations and circumstances. However, from my experience, I can say that mostly I do trust the police with generally in everyday life and with what I went through in my case. But yeah, I do understand why some people don't, because sometimes it isn't fair. Yes, I think there is a drug problem in the UK. I think living in a university city has really highlighted that to me. It's quite alarming, the normality of Class A drugs here and how easy it is to access them. It's almost easier to access drugs than a lot of things, especially in Leeds, but probably also in many places around the UK. Taking Class A drugs weekly, every weekend, every day is normalised in a way that I think is probably quite scary and shouldn't be, but for some reason it seems to be okay. And we're starting to get to the point where I'm even seeing friends who used to take them recreationally, who are now going to be dependent on them, and it's taken a toll mentally, and I think that's really worrying. So yes, due to the easy access of drugs in the UK, I think there's a problem.
I'm Connie, I'm 22. I grew up in Solihull and I live in Cheltenham. I think it's important to keep the police and us public safe from those nasty people. And there's just too much assault going on, really, you know, despite this pandemic at the moment. There's still people being assaulted, innocent people as well. I think that money for the evidence as well is needed to stop people from doing it again, repeating the crime, and this will, reduce it, I think. I think the increase is enough. It does make me a bit worried because I think we pay enough council tax at the moment, and it is a big chunk of money to kind of afford, along with other bills, and rent and food, because I live with mates in Cheltenham, so I have to afford that as well. But I think it is still needed for that kind of stuff to help the police. It's fairly easy to access, that drug. I think people tend to take it a lot. And 32,753 seizures of cocaine happened from 2018 to 2019. It was 52% of all Class A seizures and total of 9,645 kilograms. I do still think it's a rich man's drug. However, it is brought to a lot of festivals where more young people are there, which, from the news and stuff, last year quite a few people died. I don't think it was cocaine though, but still, people tend to take it in large groups. It is expensive, I think. It does affect the kind of younger generation, but also there's more cases of addiction, because it is easy to access. I do feel safe here. Every town has safer places than others. In Cheltenham, I feel safer walking around at night than I do in other places. Same in Solihull, where I grew up, is going to have that little bit of danger, but you won't like to think it. But it is important that you feel safe where you live. I definitely feel safe in my house, even it is on the high street in Cheltenham. It's kind of the safer part of town. There is a lot of people around. It's busy. It is quite a busy road though. And I think it's the same for other countries really. Places have safer places than others. I know in the US they're really strict on alcohol. So I'm pretty sure it's the same on drugs. They are a lot stricter, and maybe our country should be as well.